Other things that came up in the trial that I think people didn't understand, and that made it seem suspect, was that she had said to a friend, she had mentioned to a friend, Hemi Newman, but she never mentioned it to police.
She did the very next day.
Mentioned him.
She did the very next day.
Okay, now see, but that, I thought it was different. I thought they said that she never mentioned him by name.
No, she did. In fact, that was the point, which I thought was very ironic, that, the very next day the police came. They came the day on the 18th, and they were still trying to figure out how to tell her daughter. And they said, can you come back in the morning? That is a reasonable request. They came in. There's no attorney. She didn't even get an attorney until January. She let them come in. And she had an interview that morning, and it was brought up in the Newman trial that she waited an hour and 10 minutes before mentioning her name, or his name, of someone that could be interested in her. That came up in this trial, but they lambasted her because she waited an hour and 10 minutes. Well, the thought and the idea was so foreign to her that he would have any involvement. This was a boss and a friend who befriended the whole family.
And when we talk about that, can you help us understand the communication she and Hemi had after? Because that's been a focal point in this trial, too, is that Hemi had called her, said that there were conversations between the two of them so much the day of the shooting.
Right.
And I mean, did she, what was that communication about, I guess, first of all?
You know, I was not there the day of the shooting. I know her communication style when it comes to calls and texts. And it's kind of, and I'm not making light of this, but the way that she texts, she does stream of consciousness, where she'll do a phrase, another phrase. So you could have 15 texts in 30 seconds from her. And she had gotten the call to come down to Dunwoody Prep, and she was trying to get a hold of her boss to say, there's something that's happened. And she kept calling because he wasn't answering. Everyone wants to talk about her being this master manipulator and that, she was a puppeteer here. That doesn't jive with her trying to call him, 5 times. She truly was saying, I had to leave the office. That's, I think, the communication. He was still very supportive. He was still, he even attended the Shiva at the house. He came to the funeral. At that time, she had no idea that he would have been any part of this.
So she did not suspect Hemi Newman at all?
No, not until later.
He was emailing her and saying, I love you, and
It's the naivety. It's something so foreign to her. It didn't cross her mind. And it wasn't until later on that she started thinking, maybe this could be looking at the picture and other communications like, maybe I need to. And,
Did she talk to you about that? Did she ever say to you, I never thought before, but maybe Hemi had something to do with this?
What's really interesting and what was brought up in the Newman trial is that there was a friend that she spoke with, but that friend was never asked to come on stand. So, you've got to see who was chosen to go on stand. Because I think those people who will be, at her trial will be able to clear a lot of this up.
Okay. I wanted to ask real quickly, too, about Andrea now. And like I said, I know that you don't have a lot of communication with her, but what do you think we, as a public, who have been watching this, and I think one of the biggest criticisms was how defensive she seemed on the stand. What do we need to know about Andrea?
You have to think of why she was so defensive. Don Geary made her feel like she was going to be the pivotal person to put that murderer in jail and befriended her that way. She got up there and even in the opening statement said there was no affair. And then he just went after her and after her and after her. And I would be angry too. That anger was toward Hemi up there. That anger was for the DA up there. And that is not who she is. I would really urge the public to think about what questions weren't asked. All the truth is not there. The evidence was never cross-examined, which we will see in her trial. I have no doubt in my mind she will be fully vindicated. And it's not because of evidence not being there. It's just the truth. And she continues to be kind and supportive, and her children still remain her biggest priorities. I hope that as the coming months, people will start seeing that side of her and just kind of realize there was a reason why she was that way on the stand.
Okay. Do you think she'll take the stand in her trial?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
No.
All right. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Such a help. It's just been such a help because we've seen so much of her on television and in this trial. It's such a help for us to get a good gauge of what the people closest to her see in her that we don't get to see.
And there's a lot of us.
Here. So,
there really is.
Well, thank you for talking to us.
Thanks.
We appreciate it so much. We do need to get back to the courtroom here for the defense as it is giving its closing arguments in the Hemi Newman murder trial.